that last one that you just placed. Just keep repeating that all the way around. Notice the spiral in the middle. You go, why is this important? Because this technique right here in a dozen flowers is the same technique that you use in a European hand-tie bouquet. It's the same bouquet that you would use if you were using 1,500 different flowers. Look how much little area that takes in that vase. That's how, do you see those pictures and those vases and you have just a mass of flowers in this little vessel? That's the technique to use it. Let me show you the difference if you don't do the spiral and we do what we call a crisscross. This technique is good sometimes, but you can see what happens to the stems. You just sort of crisscross them around. Notice how they take up and those, they don't hold in there as well. Okay, so the spiral is really, really important, and I like to, like I said, cut them all at the same time. If not, measure each one. If you're not used to using a knife, we'll have that class at a later time with 30 students, a little bit hard. We'll talk a little bit about cutting later. And then the next four, doing without the greens right now so you can see the stem placement. Again, measure, see where those are gonna look at. Down here, not gonna see them. Just up a little bit. And the spacing you'll see is about, visually, one flower head space difference. If it's down here, it's gonna look flat. Up here, see it starts to look okay. Up here, it starts getting too much. So you notice about right there, if you were to take and put one carnation in between there, that's where it's at. Oop. Broken one there. So go with these four. About that tall. And then this insertion goes right down on the outside of those little V's that you formed with the flowers. And that helps hold those flowers up into their spot. Now with the greens and the foliage, it will help hold those in a little bit more. And then the last one, your tallest one, goes right in the middle, right down through the whole mess. And that one's a little bit tall. Talk about proportion. You can always cut it down a little bit. To get it where you need it to go. That's the form of it. And I'm not going to put the greens in right now because I'm not really concerned about the total end look of it right now. I'm more concerned with the mechanics of placing the stems. Okay? The greens that you put in will help hold those stems together. Also, there's other types of things that we can do to the top of the vase. And I don't know if we have those mechanics here. Do we have the tape or the clear tape?
I don't have any of the
Okay. We'll talk a little bit about that. You'll see this in your book. You using the book again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the top of the vase, we'll talk about grid work. Okay? So you'll run pieces of tape across the top, making squares on the top of that. That will help hold the stems into place. You can also use things in here, marbles, rock, to help hold the stems into place. Also, natural product, such as curly willow, sticks you can curl up and put in to help hold them in. Japanese call that kuburari. So a Japanese term, natural way to hold the stems. There's tons of different ways, but learn the technique. 7, 4, 1. Okay, so I'll leave this here so you can see the stem placements.
You guys should do that tomorrow.
And I've got one more demonstration and then we'll start. So I think we're, what, 20 minutes in? The other thing that the class is going to work on is going to be symmetrical, asymmetrical style arrangements. Round arrangements, colonial, nosegays. These are all basic elements of design. It's called form. Form is one of the 8 elements. Okay? And again, just like geometry, symmetrical is what? Equilateral triangle, right. So when you do the equilateral triangle, symmetrical, it's going to look like that. Asymmetrical, It can go either way. You start having fun with the bouquets. You can do funky stuff. Basic rule on a symmetrical bouquet, the top is going to be equal to the width. Okay, so in your mind you're thinking this is the center, the height, the two halves are going to be half the length as the top one. You'll see that in an example I'm going to do. Now, you can go wider, then that becomes what we call a fan shape bouquet, another form, all symmetrical. Okay, your round ones, jump into that really quick. The round bouquets, if this is your foam that you're poking flowers into, you probably won't get that today. I just want you to sort of see this when you do your insertions, because we're going to talk about floral insertions. Round bouquets, really simple. You start on the outside, you work opposites. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your outside, just like your 7 in your vase item. Then you work in opposite sides here, here, keep working up to the top. And we'll see an example of that. So just sort of keep that in mind. And I've numbered this because you can see this better than you can see carnations. If you get a chance, come up and leave. I'm going to leave this here for the class. First insertion in any bouquet right now, I want everybody to always make this insertion right in the middle, back, fourth of your block. And that insertion right now is always straight up and down. Okay, really, really important for basic. Number 1, right there. What that does is establish the height of your bouquet. You got to have balance. You got to have that spine of the bouquet. And then 2 and 3, establish your width. Okay, so now we have basically the size of our bouquet. I mean, I get calls every day. I want a big arrangement. Well, how do we know what we're going to do? How big is it going to be? I put in these flowers first, that establishes the size. A lot of it is how big is your flower, how tall. That limits the size that we can make the bouquet. Now we fill in the space. Notice 4 and 5 are here, but when I put 5 in, I want to show you a really important part. Notice it goes back behind the spine. Okay? If you don't do that, your bouquet leans forward and tips. So from a balance aspect, 4 and 5, you'll notice the insertion points are very similar, but the angle of the insertion is slightly